The Wheel of Food has suggested I use up my chicken tikka, which is the Indian style chicken, in a melt. So like instead of a patty melt or a tuna melt, it'll be a chicken tikka melt. I'm all in for that idea. For my vegetable, the wheel also suggested that I take a tomato and soup it. So one of the things on the wheel is that it tells you once in a while to take your vegetable that you're about to do, broccoli, green beans, whatever, but to serve it as a soup instead of as a vegetable. This is my simple soup list, and you can see you can vary the stock, you can change up the texture, you can add tomato or not if it wasn't already a tomato soup. And up here, all kinds of different bases that you can play with. And this simple, almost raw soup is really fun. You just do what you're seeing here. Normally when you're going to make a vegetable into just a simple soup, all you need is to sweat some onion, maybe some garlic, and then add stock in your vegetable. But because it's tomato soup, I'm going to go ahead and add some tomato paste in here as well. And also some carrots to make it sweet. The onion and carrot has become nice and sweet, so now I'm going to add the tomatoes in. That's just 2 tomatoes, and look, it fills up my tiny pot. Maybe I should use a bigger one. With just 2 tomatoes, that's pretty awesome. I'm going to get plenty of soup out of this. The tomatoes are now soft, and honestly, I could stop right here, toss this with pasta, or throw it over some rice, and have a beautiful tomato, onion, vegetarian entree. I think I might do a whole month of vegetarian and try to do simple things like this, just simple stuff with rice and pasta. In addition, I could probably just let this simmer for a little while and then puree it as is, and that might be an incredible pure tomato soup. I'm going to have to try that experiment next, but I already have my chicken stock thawed and ready to go. Remember, this is my homemade stock, so this is going to add a whole level of decadence. To zhuzh this up a bit, I'm going to add basil, because we know that tomatoes love basil, right? Normally I would crush it in my hand first. I'm also going to add a little bit more than that, but I'm also going to add a little bit of sugar and a touch of sherry, and that should do it. So, for the patty melt, or the tikka melt, I'm going to put the bread down, I'm going to put in half the chicken, half the caramelized onions, and some spicy picante provolone cheese to melt on top and bottom. Okay, so I assembled it all, chicken, cheese. I put the onions on top of the cheese. I probably should have put it underneath, but I kind of almost forgot them, so it'll still melt in there and be delicious. Put that on. The hard part of this dish was making that delicious Indian-style chicken. Everything else is pure reward. Now, the soup is ready, and boy, putting that little splash of sherry in was genius. It tastes so good. I'm going to try to immersion blend it right in this little pot. If it splashes too much, I might have to move to a bigger pot. That looks like it's working. I just gave my sandwich a flip, and oh, look at that. That is perfection. That's because I use medium to low heat, so it doesn't burn. And now, let's pour half of this soup into this bowl, and we're almost done. That's beautiful. Look at that. Half here so that I can eat that tomorrow. But look at that. Delicious. Now, you can hit this with a little bit of sour cream or Greek yogurt or a splash of heavy cream or none of the above. So the soup's done. The melt is done. To get the cream to float on top, if you put a spoon close to the edge there and then pour the cream on there, you'll get it to float. If you just pour it directly on, it goes underneath. But now, for the best part. Oh, and yes, I will be dipping that in there at some point. This is so good. The best part of the soup is the sherry that I put in there. Plus, I can taste the sugar. The basil really pops. So overall, man, I am really satisfied. And now, for the best part of all, dip. So naturally, I did dip this in because you know what? Indian-style chicken loves tomato. Oh. Cheesy, but that Indian-style chicken is so good. It's those 12 Indian spices that I used if you saw my chicken tikka masala video earlier. But look what happened. The chicken was too big, so I prepared all of it the same style, froze a little bit of it, and now I get these 2 amazing sandwiches out of it. Like, don't be afraid to freeze off some of your experiments. So hopefully you will now try to soup a vegetable. Note to self, get half as much veg as you normally would, because when you add the soup, it actually comes out to be quite a bit. That's 2 tomatoes, and it's definitely plenty. I probably could have done just 1 unless I was going to do it without the stock.